Hello. So, as you can tell, I'm in a different location today. I am over at somebody's house. We've been working together this morning. So, I'm doing this live from my friend Tracy's living room. So, anybody who doesn't know me, my name is Lindsey Hall, and I'm an intimacy and empowerment coach. And as part of my work, I absolutely love helping women, people deepen an intimacy with themselves and with others, own their power and their pleasure, and live a joyful life that they absolutely fucking love. That is what lights me up. That is what I am here to do. And it is just the most powerful and amazing work. And I do this in lots of ways, but one of the things that I do is with these weekly tea break chats where I come on and I talk about what's been going on in my life in the last week or so, what's come up, life lessons, that kind of thing, just like, insight into the life of an intimacy coach. And then I answer your questions that you guys send me. And last week, this one's a bit different because last week I had so many questions that this week I didn't put up a question box. So I'm just going to be answering last week's. Hey, Jennifer. So I guess I could dive right in because the stuff that's been coming up this week is, well, and it's particularly been today, and it's been coming up in a particular part of my life, but then applies to more things. So for the last month or so, I have been working with somebody on my nutrition, and I have been doing this because I realized that paying attention to my physical needs has not been anywhere near at the top of my priority list for a while. And so I wanted to sort of get on top of that. And I have been working with her. Her name's Pippa, by the way, Pippa Grover. And if you want to follow her, she's Pippa at, I can't actually tell you her whole thing. I'll tag her in the comments on this. But she's a personal trainer. She's not a nutritionist, but she's a personal trainer. And she knows a lot about nutrition. It's been helping me on my Eat Better journey. And so basically, I send her my meal plans. We talk about like where I can add in extra goodness, mostly protein. She tells me a lot about protein. And I've been trying to make changes to my diet. So all of this is a long-winded context to what's been coming up today. And that, so every week, I send her this meal plan. She comments on it ahead of time, but then I also send her how the past week looked and like, what did I eat? Did I stick to my meal plan? Oh, you can't see. Oh, there you go. You can see this cat that just joined me. I don't have cats at home, so feeling her just land on my lap scared me a little bit. Anyway, I'm going to have a visitor with me here. So where was I? Oh, so I sent her the past week and how that's gone as well. And so I sent her this morning, I sent her my check-in from last week and my plan for this week. And I was stressed. So if you were on my stories yesterday, you might have seen that I was talking about that we're headed off to America next week. I'm getting cat and bum now. There you go. Look at you. So the girls and I are heading back to Wisconsin next week, and we will be gone for almost 3 weeks, which is the longest we've gone for, and I'm super excited. But also traveling across the ocean, transatlantic. It's almost a 24-hour travel day. With 2 tiny humans on your own who you are solely responsible for everything, and that's a long freaking travel day. And then when 2 of you are celiac on top of that, so you've got like way more food considerations. There's a lot to think about and to do, and I have done it twice before. I know it will be fine. The actual travel day will be okay, but the reason that the travel day itself goes okay is because I put so much prep and planning into it. So from like now until we go, I'm mentally prepared to be in this like perpetually stressed state. So I sent all my stuff to Pippa, and her comments back were like, whoa, Lindsey, I can feel you stressed out like in your writing. Like the first thing I need to tell you is calm down and take a breath. And really, and the reason I'm talking about this, like I said, is this applies to not just my food stuff, but to life in general. So thing number 1 was looking at what I had done last week, because there was a few things that didn't go as planned, like where I ended up actually skipping meals, which is unusual for me, but for various reasons that happened. And I was sort of tough on myself for that, or tough on myself for some of the choices I had made. And Pippa's response was like, reminding me to have compassion for myself in this, and to show me where actually from an outside point of view, like even on those, like the slip ups, the choices I made were so much better than what they would have been when we started working together 3 weeks ago. And the And a big part of it as well was that, as she says, like instead of hitting the fuck it button and everything after that going down the drain, I did that thing at that time and then course corrected. So for example, I took Nora to the cinema on Sunday, and so we shared a big tub of popcorn. And I knew that we were going to be like having popcorn and probably out for lunch. We didn't end up going out for lunch actually, but rather than being like, oh well, I had popcorn for lunch and shit in the middle of the day, so I may as well just eat garbage the rest of the day, I didn't do that. It was like, okay, I get to do that treat. And then I'm going to have like this big ass salad and I'm going to throw loads of extra gamma on it for protein. And I'll do that when I get home that day. And knowing that like, it's okay to have that treat and and to then go back to, and what do I know is the food that's going to fuel my body in a nourishing way. So Peppa was really helpful in pointing out that like, actually there's been shifts like that you would have done differently just a few weeks ago. Similarly, noticing changes in my thought pattern in terms of how I'm thinking about things and in my inner dialogue. And let me tell you, old habits die hard, like for sure. And stuff that I didn't even realize were habits until I tried to do something different. And then I'd be like, oh my goodness. So for example, I had no idea how many junk food snacks I ate until I started doing this work. But turns out if I sit down in front of the TV, I apparently need to eat. I didn't realize that was so ingrained in me, but it's really hard to break it. And when I say I need to eat something, it's usually like crisps or popcorn or like roasted honey nut peanuts or something that actually doesn't have much nutritional value or goodness to it. And so I've been trying to cut that out and just be, not because snacking is bad, because it's not, but snacking mindlessly just because I sat down in front of the TV, so therefore I grabbed some empty calories. That is problematic. Whereas I've been really trying to tune into, am I hungry? What does my body need to fuel it right now? Why am I eating? Is it because I'm bored, or is it because I'm stressed, or is it because I'm genuinely hungry? So although I was feeling like, oh my gosh, last week I did, I had more of these like, shoot, I forgot to eat, so I grabbed something quick. I skipped a couple meals for whatever reason. One of the nights I accidentally skipped the meal because I ended up at the pub drinking wine and sharing a half a bag of crisps and never had dinner that night. I just had a lot of wine. I wasn't super excited to tell her that one, but again, because she's like a real human, she wasn't like, oh my gosh, you're a terrible person. Cause like, listen guys, shaming yourself into change never works. It doesn't. And this applies to everything. If you are trying to make changes to anything in your life and you're doing it from a foundation of shame, if you're doing it in terms of like, if you don't do this, you're a bad person, or this means you're horrible, or like, you're so stupid, or you're so fat, or you're so, why can't you just get your act together? None of that is actually going to help you. It's just not. All that does is layer on more shame and make it more difficult to change. But change that comes from a place of love inside of you, that is far, 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 far more sustainable. Ow, she just stood up my nipple. Oh, didn't even know that was a thing, but that was not very comfortable. So in these food choices then, noticing where I can make changes based on love for myself and love for my body rather than from a place of shame makes a big difference. So instead of being like, oh, you shouldn't have this snack, and like, why is it so hard for you to not have this? For me to go, okay, what would be a more like loving substitute right now? And so there's been a few cases where I've had, sorry about this, where I've switched to having some fruit, some raspberries or some cherries or some like just plain like almonds or like seasoned almonds, but not the like sugar coated, although I have those sometimes, things. So really noticing where you can make changes from love rather than from shame. And then again, noticing the changes over time and then noticing that my brain is shifting the way I'm thinking about things, even just in the space of 3 weeks working together. I'm going, okay, I wasn't aware of that before. And now that I'm aware of it, I can do something about it. I can make changes. And having that external pair of eyes really, really is helpful. So in terms of spotting things I wouldn't have spotted and going like, this actually, like, there's been a few times I've sent my meal plan. This is a really good meal plan, but if you make this, and that tweak, it'll be an excellent meal plan. Or like, just add in this one thing or swap out that one thing, and really easy changes. And then again, having her compassion and her being able to step back and go, hey, look at the big picture here, instead of being so caught up in the details. And when we're stressed and in this place of like, we can get really lost in the details. So having her there to be like, listen, the overall picture here is really encouraging, and you are on this awesome trend and this like upward trajectory in what you're learning and doing, and like really celebrate that. And like I said, all of this is just such a good reminder of like, this is true for all of life. So I'm hoping that you guys can see these, analogies here, and that I don't have to spell them all out for you. But that is exactly the point of having a good coach, whether it's a nutrition coach like she's doing for me right now, or whether it's a coach more widely. It's having somebody else to go, let's help you see, the forest through the trees, or let me help you show you where actually you have a lot to celebrate here. And in fact, this came up again with one of my mastermind coaches last night, where I was sharing some frustrations I have about my business and some fears that I have, and feeling like, is none of this working? And her question doesn't, she doesn't start with, you're right, none of it's working, you're a horrible coach, you should just pack it in. That's not how this goes. Instead, she says, well, can you tell me what is working? Can you tell me where you do feel momentum? Can you tell me where you do feel that connection? And as soon as you get into that place of connecting to it from love and going, actually, this is working and that's working great, and that then starts things going again and can really help propel you in a much better direction, because it never, ever works to try and make changes from shame. Ever. It might work very, very temporarily, but it's not sustainable. Changes that come from love are what's sustainable. So there you go. That's what's been coming up. Is there anything else around that I wanted to say? I don't think so. Oh, no, that's not true. One more thing, I guess, is just, again, like the power of having somebody else externally. So I very well didn't need to hire Pippa to help me with my nutrition. I could have, looked up on the internet what sort of, what protein levels somebody my age should be having. And like, I generally know about healthy foods-ish. So I could have done this on my own, but it would have been way, way harder. I wouldn't have had anybody to hold me accountable. So it's been really just gonna call this tea break with Molly today instead of tea break with Lindsey. I don't know how to get her to go away though. If I move her, she'll just come back. So please don't knock over my phone though. What was I saying? Oh yes, having Pippa to hold me accountable for me is huge, and this is what my coaches do for me as well. In terms of, I know that the thought of like, I'm going to tell her what I ate today, so let's make it something that she would approve of, rather than like, I don't want to have to tell her that I ate 3 bags of popcorn for dinner. So that makes a big difference. But then again, just that power of having somebody to cheer you on, to, none of my coaches, whether it's Pippa on the nutrition front or my coaches that I work with, like my intimacy coaches, none of them are here for like toxic positivity of like, you're always doing great, and they're not going to tell me if there's something wrong. Like, they're there to help me notice the sticky parts and fix the sticky parts too. But also, usually there is more good stuff happening than not, and having somebody who can help remind you of that and bring you back to the actual truth, rather than holding on to the catastrophes in our own brain, is super helpful. So that's what's come up there. I told you, as soon as I tried to move her, it was going to make things worse, and it has. So we're just going to live with her here. Okay, I'm going to try and move on to the questions part now, which, like I said, are the questions from last week that I didn't get to answer on last week's live. So the first question is about journaling and getting started on journaling. And I love this question, and I have probably... It's very likely I've answered it before at some point on here, and I don't care. I will answer as many times as I can because it's a really good question, and I know that I needed a lot of assistance in getting started journaling because I really resisted. Oh, she came around back this time, sneaky little thing. So I really resisted journaling for a long time. People kept telling me to do it when I was separating from my husband, and I was like, no, I don't need to. I don't have time. I'm just too busy. I know what's in my head. Why do I need to write it down? It won't help. and I really, then I started doing it, and it actually helped a lot, and now it's like my favorite tool ever, although I still sometimes don't do it. So I still will be like, I'll find myself in a bit of a funk about something and realize it's because I haven't been journaling for a while. Like, I need to actually get it out onto paper. Okay, hold on, she's straddling my phone. Can you just stay here on my lap, maybe? Should we do my lap? So to get started journaling, sorry, distracted. So to get started journaling, then, there's no right or wrong way to do it. So I want to make that really clear that journaling can look like a ton of different ways, and it doesn't even always have to be writing. So I think sometimes we can get stuck in this like mental block of, oh, it has to be, like we have to be all tucked up in the writing corner with a candle lit and a cup of tea and no distractions around, and have like, a solid hour or more to like, dedicate to this. And that can be really off-putting. And it doesn't have to be that at all. It might be writing. It might be voice noting. It might be drawing. It can be just talking out loud to yourself sometimes. So journaling to me can mean basically anything that is like getting thoughts out of your head, out into the world somehow. If it is writing, so another thing that I used to have this big hang up, like I've always loved stationery, but a brand new notebook was like kind of intimidating to me because I felt like I have to write like really good things, or like, it's gotta start off perfectly. It doesn't have to start off perfectly at all. My very first page, my first journal was me like scribbling. Like I just was like, I didn't know what to do. I just had to get something on paper. In fact, even just recently, there's a big scribble. I wonder if I can find it really super quickly. Oh yeah, look, just last week, my journal involves scribbling and stabbing at the paper. So sometimes that's all it is. And I also, at the very beginning, because my head works in lists very well, so my journaling involved just bullet point lists of like things I wanted to get down. It was like bullet. I did loads of those. So you can start with that. You can start by journal prompts. So if you want me to send you any, let me know. I will happily send you a list of journal prompts that can help you get started, because sometimes answering a question can really, really help. Like yesterday, I said that my mastermind coach was like, so what is going well? So she gave me some journal prompts. So this morning I was writing down like, what is going well in my business? Where do I feel the momentum? Like, what would it feel like to have everything that I desire in my business? And that's what I was journaling on. I was like, oh, I can write about exactly what it would feel like. And then by writing about what it would feel like, I feel it in my body. And then that makes it feel like way possible. In fact, it feels like it's happening right now. So if you want some journal prompts from me, let me know. I will happily work with you and send you some. But then, like I said, it could be just voice noting. So sometimes I'm leaving a voice note out loud to myself, and that helps too. So there's loads of ways. I think the really important part is ditch any kind of preconception about what it has to look like. Ditch any kind of idea of like it needs to be perfect. It doesn't matter if your spelling is off. It doesn't matter if you cross off half the words. It doesn't matter if none of it makes sense. It doesn't matter if you have half-started sentences. Like, this is for nobody except you. If you're worried about like somebody else reading it, burn it when you're done. Throw it in the bin. You don't have to keep it. It doesn't have to be in a pretty notebook. You could just write something on the back of a scrap of paper. It doesn't fucking matter. The idea is just start. Just get something out of your head and out into the world in some way. Oh, it could be a notes on your phone. I don't know if I said that. Like you can just make notes to yourself in your notes app on your phone. Just get it out, and that starts the process. That starts the magic. So to sum all of that up in one tiny little sentence of how do you start journaling, just fucking start. I know, I make it sound so easy, don't I? But trust me, it really, really is super useful. So that's my tip on that. Next question, which I love, is how do you feel more confident getting naked with strangers? If you want to get naked with strangers. And by this, that's the way the question was worded, but by this, what I know that she means is considering getting back out there, dating again, and she's, feeling like I've got mum bod now, and, my body has changed quite a lot since the last time I got naked with strangers. And by strangers, I mean somebody who she's, going to be on a date with, not like, although it could be total strangers. So if you, that's fine too. But I knew that this was coming in a dating context. So my advice for how do you get more confident with your body and getting naked with strangers is connect back to your body for you, first and foremost. Your body isn't for somebody else. It's not for their pleasure. It's not for their visual enjoyment. It is your body, and she is beautiful and deserves to be treated with such love and kindness and respect. And the more that you connect back with your body and love your body, the more that radiates out and turns into confidence. And this is not about getting your body to look a certain way before you date or before you get with somebody else. It's not about the way it has to look. It's about your feeling with it. And the best way to feel connected to your body is to connect back to it. So for me, dancing has been huge. My dance parties that I have been, they're fun and they're stress relieving, and they do so many important things for me. Now she's trying to drink my tea. But they first and foremost started as a way to connect with my body and to feel it move and to feel it, like, the music in me, or just move in a way that I want to move. So, different kinds of music will evoke different feelings in me, that kind of thing. So dance is, and to be honest, pretty much everybody who works with me at some point or other, I end up assigning dance parties as part of your homework. Side note, when you do coaching with me, I'm not really the homework type, but if you want homework, I can certainly give you some. I'm unlikely to super follow up on it, because it's for you. If you want to do it and tell me how it went, then amazing, please do. But if you don't do it, there's no shame involved in that, okay? So it's not that kind of coaching. But most of the time I will end up suggesting dance parties. Also, if you are the kind who loves yoga or sport or running or whatever else, do it for you. Again, it's not about trying to force any particular outcome. Do it for you. But I think, and then the other part in terms of getting naked with strangers, which I'm going to take to also mean sexy time with these people, is really coming back to that your pleasure is your pleasure and not performative for anyone else either. And that, again, has been a big learning of mine and something I still have to work on sometimes. But just really getting comfortable. And if this is something that you need help on, this is totally my jam, baby. We can help you with this. But understand that pleasure is your pleasure, and that somebody else gets to benefit from that, then good for them. That's added bonus, but you're not performing for them and trying to look a certain way or act a certain way or be a certain way isn't going to cut it. And then the final tip I would say in terms of hooking up with somebody else for the first time, and this is a side note, this wasn't exactly what you asked me, but I'm going to answer it anyway, is that really for me, I had to learn that the sexual energy between any two people, or 3 or 4, or however many people are in your sexual encounters, but the sexual energy between people is different with every single combination of people. So the way that sex was with your ex is not going to be the way that sex is with a new person. And it looks different and it feels different and the energy is different. And just going into it from this exploratory, in for a joyful adventure, that makes such a big difference. It's not you don't know what to expect, and every single encounter will be totally different. So I guess it's just a hint to prepare you for that. And for me, that's been super empowering because it's helped me realize that, oi, did you see that? She nipped my finger. It's helped me realize that she really wants my tea too. That, I can't do things wrong because there is no wrong. Every time that. So when somebody's with me for the first time, it's the first time that me and them combination exists. And isn't that amazing that we get to find out what that's like? So keeping that in mind too. Okay, I'm running out of time because I'm talking a lot today. Do I say that in every call? I might say that in every one actually. Although I don't usually have a cat slowing me down. Okay, the final question then is, so how do you approach somebody at work, a colleague who you have a difficult relationship with, in order to talk about maybe having a better relationship? And I don't know any more background to this than that. All I know is this question of how do you approach somebody at work with the intention of a better relationship. So, without knowing anything else, I would say it always starts with you can't control anybody else, keeping that very much in mind. And approaching any sort of conversation like this, whether it's with a colleague or whether it's with your romantic partner or whether it's with a child or a friend or any time, if there is somebody who you are like, things are feeling tough right now and things aren't working and you want to talk about a better relationship, is going into this with an open, curious mind. So not any sort of like accusatory. Don't do that. Don't go into like, you do this and you do, like, that puts people immediately on defense and it closes off the lines of communication. Whereas if you can go into any of these conversations with questions, with a curious mind, with a, I wonder why this is, or can you tell me more about that? Or, just really trying to understand the human behind it. And I know this can be really hard sometimes. Like, some people just really fucking wind us up. I get that. And you're like, oh, you just drive me insane. But at the end of the day, every single one of us are just humans. We are human people going through human stuff with human emotions. And all of us, at the end of the day, are hardwired for connection. Like, none of us are like these, they're not there just to, they're probably not coming into work every day to piss you off or cause problems. She's like chasing around my cup of tea now, by the way. So she's, this other person's not there to make life more difficult for you. They're there doing their own best thing. And so approaching it from a point of view of like, what is going on here? Ask questions, be curious, talk about the fact that, it's okay. I think it's okay to recognize that like maybe things don't feel as awesome as we'd like them to feel. What do we think we can do about that? Do you have suggestions? Is there anything that, you think that I could do differently? And again, making it really an open dialogue rather than going in with any like preconceived ideas or things that you think like, again, nothing accusatory. That can be really, really helpful. And just remembering that it's about the connection. It's about connection with another human. And you might not ever see eye to eye on whatever the things are. You might, they might still insist on chewing their gum too loudly or, banging down the stack of papers every time that they sit down at their desk or whatever the thing is that's annoying you. Like some of that stuff might not change. But if you can see them as a human who is doing the best that they can, and you are also a human who is doing the best that you can, and try and get some more connection on that front, that can really, really go a long way. And then, like I said, at the start of this is also remembering that you can't control anybody else. So you cannot make them do or say or act or think or be differently. The only thing that you can do is have this conversation, and then it's your reactions, your thoughts, your actions that you get to have control over. So you can decide how you let somebody else affect you. You can't change what they do, but you can change how it affects you and how you deal with it. And knowing that and understanding that power is absolutely massive too. So recognizing those two things, I think, are the most important. That you can only control you, and that you can go into things with an open, curious mind. So that was all my questions. Let me see if I can have a drink of this without the cat getting involved. Okay, I think that is everything. So I will be back here next week. However, next week's is moving to Tuesday because at this time on Wednesday, I will be on an airplane to America. We will be, where will we be? Somewhere over the Atlantic at this time next Wednesday. So I am planning to do the tea break chat on Tuesday before I go. So I will put up the question box for you on Monday. So get your questions ready. Feel free to send them in advance if you want to. And what else? How do I usually end these? Oh, I end these by telling you how you can connect to my world more. Of course. So I would love to have this be an open dialogue. So if you've got anything that came up, any questions you want to talk about, anything that you're like, oh, or you totally answered my question wrong, or literally anything that you want to say, I'd love to hear it. So put it in the comments, send me a message, send me a carrier pigeon for all I care. But let's talk about it, okay? I would love that. I would love to hear what you think, what resonated the most, all of that stuff. Like I said, you can send me questions for next week. You could always go to my website, lindseyhallcoaches.com, or you can send me an email. You can get that off of my website as well. And then, of course, I've got one-to-one coaching spots available. So even though I'm flying to America next week, one-to-one coaching is still available because guess what? It's The amazing part of an online coaching business is I can do it anywhere. So I can do it from Sheffield and I can do it from Wisconsin. Yay! So one-to-one coaching packages with me starting at £444. Also have an option of 3 months, the Elevate coaching package, which you can step into if you are ready for the all-inclusive luxury option. That is £888 a month. You get 3 coaching calls with me, and you get Voxer access, which is like basically coaching support in your back pocket Monday through Friday. That is actually like pretty much invaluable. Turns out I did put a value on it because that's how, internet money exchanges work. But it is absolutely insanely helpful and powerful. It's how I get coaching from one of my coaches, Chelsea, and it's amazing. So you can always do that too. Send me a message if you want to talk about coaching together. Okay, I think that's it. I'm going to go pick up my kids from school now and have them start to pack their carry-on bags. I know it's super early, a week early, but it's what we're going to do tonight. So there you go. Okay, that's it. I'll stop waffling now. Mwah! Love you all. Have a good week.